Hey, happy New Year, everybody.
Yes, Happy New
Happy
Year, everybody.
New Year. Happy 2023. Hey, guys, it's me, Kofi Dalrymple, and Richard Bola, my good friend and brother, here to wish you a happy 2023. And welcome back to Expanding the Conversation with Richard and Kofi. I'm going to let Richard say hi and introduce our topic today. We talk a lot about resolution and goals, so I'll let him talk about what we want to discuss, and then we'll jump into it. But excited to be here with you guys, and wish you guys all the best for the new year. Rich, take
Yeah,
it.
Happy New Year, everybody. Hope you had a good Christmas holiday season, depending on what you prefer to call that. We don't really worry too much about it here. But no, I think we've tried. This has been a couple years now since we've been having these conversations, and we tried to have discussions around things that are sort of timely and relevant. And so naturally, it's the it's the beginning of the year, and so I know a lot of times we tend to have New Year's resolutions. I know in my house we've thrown around a few, and we want to sort of have a quick discussion on New Year's resolution versus goals. Is one better than the other? Is it a combined thing? Kofi is a high achiever, so clearly he's got some good advice for us. I came to take notes as usual, but I've got some
Ah,
perspective, some perspective to share. But yeah, it's for me, and I was pondering on this, Kofi, at the beginning of the year, because I do have some goals. They probably need to be better, but we could talk about that a little bit later in the discussion. And I sat and I sort of pondered on how I wanted to approach my goal setting and sort of my plan for the year. And yeah, I know sometimes and we've said this before, I think here that resolutions are certainly okay, but we tend to sort of give up on those very quickly.
right.
I did acknowledge in that reflection that there's something about resolutions that we ought to take note of, right? So we may say at the beginning of the year, I want to be X, I want to be Y, I want to do X, I want to do Y, and and maybe later on just sort of forget about it. But one of the things that I acknowledged to myself at least was that um, a lot of times I would say that a New Year's resolution that anybody comes up with is sort of a longing for a better version of ourselves in that specific area. So,
Right.
essentially, if I wake up on the first of the year and I say I want to be healthier this year, I think deep down inside that we know that there's a longing for us to be a healthier version of ourselves, and we should take note of that, right? Because maybe a lot of times we don't address those emotions and those thoughts, and we try to suppress them. So whatever I will start out with saying, whatever New Year's resolution you came up with at the beginning of the year and you felt excited about, it's your soul longing to be a better version of whatever that thing is of yourself. So take note of it. And certainly our resolution is just, a lot of times we just say something, right? I want to be rich.
But
I,
I
you know,
do. I do want to be
we
rich.
all want to be rich, or maybe we are already rich, right? We've talked about that before, and how you measure richness could certainly change. But that yes, go ahead and create wealth. And so I think write that down. My recommendation would be write it down and then have a plan, right? So maybe take the resolution and make it a goal or multiple goals, right? And then sort of come up with
Yeah.
a plan to track that. But I'll let you chime in on how you approach your New Year's resolution
Well,
slash goals.
let's maybe it's useful if we talk about what's a resolution and what's a goal, right? Maybe there's a difference, right? Because you kind of set up the topic that way. Resolution versus goal, and the word resolution is sort of an interesting word, right? It means like you've come to some kind of conclusion. You resolved something, right? It has that word resolve or resolute in it.
Yeah, I'm
And to make a
consulting Google here.
resolution is a very simple thing. A resolution is a simple thing. A resolution is a decision. It means you've made a decision. That's it.
Yeah,
And I think that differs. A decision a decision is different than a goal, because what a decision, they're basically, they don't have to be at odds with each other. I think the issue with a lot of us is that we make a decision and that's it. But we don't do anything about the decision, and we go back on the decision and so on. So I think your point here is that a goal goes beyond the decision. So once we set up a goal, and we have decided that we're going to achieve this goal, I think a goal is something that's now beyond us, right? And we have to move towards it. And of course, the resolution, the decision is necessary in order to be sort of the initiating step that moves us towards our goal. But we have to do more than make decisions, right? You have to get up every day. And it's almost like, instead of making your resolution at the beginning of the year, really what we ought to be doing is every day we get up and we make decisions, right? And so that resolution is something that we should be making every day. The practice that we've had, right, the traditional practice that we've had, is that we make a decision at the beginning of the year, and then that's it. We don't make those decisions again, right, until the next year comes. So I think what you just talked about is, when you set a goal, right, you have to break it down, because then you have to get up every day and make those decisions. And you can't make decisions that then go counter to the original decision that you made, right? And that's where I think the challenge comes in. So we always like to use exercise as a good example, because this is probably one of the things that a lot of people every year, talk about, right? I want to exercise.
Everybody's longing for that six pack.
Exactly, right? I want to get healthy, or something like that. And I mean, and I feel like that's fair. And all of us, we struggle with that, right? We struggle because we don't want to exercise. We don't want to exercise. I would much rather that exercise was just a normal part of what I do. If I had to walk to work every day, and do heavy work, like work in a building and so on, then that would be, that's kind of how we used to get our exercise. We're not kind of built naturally to want to go to the gym. Let's be fair. This is a struggle. All right. If you're out there and you're struggling, yeah, it's a struggle. Let's be real, Rich. Right.
I don't go to the gym, so I understand.
Right. That's fine. I get out there and pull up on, like, I used to climb trees as a child and run around the neighborhood. And that used to be the exercise that we did, and it was a normal part of that. You didn't even think you were exercising, but you were. And I actually want to give credit here, because I know I'm off on a tangent, but I do want to give a little bit of credit here, because I think if you're the kind of person who is looking for exercise, maybe you may want to look for it in simpler ways than necessarily the gym, right? So that if you go to an office, you can park, let's say, away from the office and then walk back and forth, right, to your car. That's of course if you drive to work. Or if you take the bus, if you're like in Guyanese, or you're in a place where you commute with public transportation, you might want to get off a block away and walk, right, and then walk back. And now you've got a goal in mind, right? You got to get to work, and here it is, you're actually pushing and moving towards it. So I think we have to create and look for opportunities within sort of the natural rhythm of our lives every day to get up and do exercise. And I find that that's one way it tends to work. Like even the groceries, right? When you do CrossFit, you have the farmer's carry. So what I do is I grab the groceries in both hands, right? And I walk and hold them for a little bit longer, right? So that I can get some of that exercise in, right? But in the life we live now is so comfortable and so relaxed. We don't really get a lot of those opportunities. But I actually think that that's a good point. But I want to get back to, before I give it back to you, Rich, is you make a decision and then you got to move towards your goal. So I think resolutions are good. They're good because they're the first step. It's the first step in identifying what it is we want to achieve. But then we've got to be serious about how we go from that resolution to the actual goal, right? And not just serious, but we got to be very, very deliberate about it. And every day we get up, we then have to continue to make decisions about how we're going to get to that goal. And we have to make the necessary sacrifices, or else we find ourselves undoing the decisions that we've made previously and giving up the ground that we've already gained, right? And I could see that like in my tummy, right? I haven't worked out as hard as I can, and I see the gains in fat coming back. You know what I mean? I see it. That's not what I want. But
Chris, the Chris.
I'm losing the lean muscle mass, and now gaining back that fat. And so I know it physically. I know it. It's a challenge, but you got to get up every day and make that decision. And
Agreed.
I hope my gym coach is not listening to me because she can. I hide my
You
face.
get you,
She doesn't know
you
it's me.
get a you get a call soon.
I
No,
hide
I
my
think
face.
I agree with that that assessment there of moving from the decision. And the decision is certainly easy, right? It's certainly easy to say I want to do, I want to be, I want to have. The hard part I think would be sort of laying it out as a goal and having a distinct action plan.
Let's do this. Let's do this, Rich. I'm going to cut you. Let's
But
say the decision is hard. Let's give credit. The decision is hard. You've made the first hard step. No, you got to make some harder steps.
the thing I would say about the harder steps, if we agree that the decision is hard, is that once you break it down in pieces, and you do little bits of it, then it becomes a lot easier. I
Yeah.
think a lot of times, and I've heard this statement many times, and I agree with it 100%, is that they say we overestimate what we can do in a day, and we underestimate what we can do in 10 years, right? And so what that means is that if we're, or what I understand that to mean is, if we're willing to take the small steps along the way over a long time, then we'll get some results, right? I think a lot of times we tend to make the decision, and then expect that there's a fast way to get there. And especially when we see people um, way ahead of us, and we think, well, man, I just want to get there fast, right? I want to get to where they are, but I want to do it in half the time. And of course, we live in a time of hacks, right? So everybody's trying to come up with a hack to make everything faster. And there are some that I think work well, and then there's some that don't. They also say that when you make a decision to sort of have a goal and to pursue it, you have to remove the barriers to those goals, right? Or you have to make them easy. So you don't try to say that you want to exercise or you want to go for a run in the morning, and you wake up and you spend the first half an hour trying to figure out where your clothes are, right? Because then you just, at that point, you're like, um, you're done, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
this
yeah.
is too hard. I already worked out. I had to find my clothes. And so, one of the things I did probably a couple of years ago as well was, I made a decision I wanted to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables. Um, and so for me, the thought was I need to make sure that those things are always around, right? So there's always a
Right.
basket of fruits.
That's
I'm seeing vegetables in front of me, because if I don't see those things, and instead there's some cookies there, right? Or something else that's unhealthy,
what you're saying is powerful. Go on, go on.
right? Then
Go
it's easy to sort of pick it up. Even when it comes, so I say I don't go to the gym, it doesn't mean I don't exercise, because I've got some equipment. But I want to see my equipment, right? I want to see my rower. I want to see the little bit of weights that I have, because I need to be reminded that I need to exercise, right? And so I think we've got to be willing to, in pursuit of those goals and those resolutions, is to have those little small steps, and to remove the barrier. One other thing I will say as well is that that's super important, because uh, most of us, our days are already filled, right? We wake up, or we think it's filled, by the way. A lot of us waste a lot of time. I know I do, scrolling Facebook and whatever else, right?
hmm
But we think our days are full. So when we decide to make a resolution, I'm sure most people don't really make a resolution that I just want to keep doing the same things that I did last year, right? Unless you're doing a lot of great things and you want to continue doing it. But a lot of times we're adding stuff on to things that we don't currently do. And if we don't have a time slot for it, that's identified and booked, and in our mind that we've allocated the time to do that, we're just hoping that we'll do it. And a lot of times, most of us, and I'm the same way. If I decided I'm going to do something when I'm done doing everything else, I'm never going to do that thing. I'm not going to have the energy. I'm not going to have the time of day, because by the time a certain time of the night, or by a certain time in the morning, actually, from a certain point in the morning to a certain point in the night, my time is completely out of my control in a sense, right? Everything else that happens, plus during the day, there's work and everything else. So
Yeah, yeah,
if you're gonna do something, you've got to allocate some time to it. Even if at the beginning you struggle to commit that time, you have to be able to say from 5 to 6 or 7 to 8, here's what I'm going to do, whether it's read or write or whatever it is, and then have those things ready and available, to ensure that you you achieve your goals, and you follow through on the
yeah.
decision that you've made to be a better version of yourself in some areas of your life or across your entire life. I highly
Well,
recommend the latter.
this is really good, Rich. I want to throw in the concept here of making smart goals. And I know a lot of people have heard this before, but SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant. And I added a little piece. Usually it means time, right? At the end there. But in this case, you said something I thought was important. And Ramona, thanks for watching, Ramona. Um, reminded me of it. Motivation, right? There are a lot of things in our lives that work better when we do it as a team. You know, like sex, for example, is one of them. So my point here is it's better if you do some things together, right? You get a partner, and it makes it better. And it's like working out in the gym. You need motivation, and I've always found that having a partner, going to the gym or working out in groups, is a lot better than you are like the only person in the gym, right? So if you're the only person with this goal, really, really makes it hard. Now, I'm not saying don't pursue the goal. I'm saying push, still, but go and get others to come on board with you, because it tends to make the goal easier. And you and I both know this. We started a session that we do every morning, early in the morning, and it's been going on for 2 years. And one of the only reason I think it succeeds is because there are other people who come on to do it, right? Getting up in the morning and trying to do that by yourself. There are days where you just don't want to get up. There are days where you're like, something came up, maybe you slept late, you feel like you want to sleep in. But because you've got your friends, because you've got partners, because you've got other people behind you to keep you accountable, that really, really, really helps. And I think this is one of the challenge. We think that we have to do these things on our own. And I think we rob ourselves of success when we don't reach out to other people and enlist other people, right, on a journey with us. And we've talked about that here before, right? And having workout buddies or whatever it is it takes to get things done, right? So I think smart goals are important. Specific, making sure you can measure it so you can watch how you're achieving it. Make sure it's achievable, so something that's realistic. Don't expect if you want to lose weight. Yeah, I'll lose 40 pounds next week. Right? you want to be a little bit more realistic, I think, about that, and make relevant goals. Things, of course, about your life. But I think the team part is really, really important. Another thing that you said, Richard, I want to reiterate is organizing your space of success. So you talked about, hey, I want to eat more veggies, right? I want to eat more healthy foods. Well, you don't do that if you don't actually organize your space to accommodate that, right? So you might be out there and you might be looking, you want to date somebody, hey man, this date I'm not really finding the right person, right? Well, you're not going to find that person at home, or you're not going to find that person at the same place that you keep going, right? You have to expand that circle, right? You have to expand that circle. You got to go out in safe, secure circles and meet other people, right? And expand it, or improve your options, right? Improve your options to be able to do things like that. So you've got to organize your space. I think for success, like you got to put healthy things around you. You got to put the right books around you. We talked about that. You got to watch the right shows, right? You got to turn your phone off at night, put some stuff on your phone where you can turn it off, and so it doesn't keep you up, get better sleep. So these kinds of things are, so you organize. Like my phone at 10 o'clock goes off, right? It goes into night mode, it falls asleep, it tells me. And after a certain time, I don't get messages, and unless I want to take them, but generally that it tells me to shut up, and I'm organizing my space there for success. So I think that's really really important. And then back on the time issue, you got to get a schedule. I don't know how people are able to do anything without the schedule. I think a schedule's got to be an important part of achieving any goal. Like, and you said it earlier, when am I going to do this? Right? The question is when. When are you going to do this? If you say that you are committing to doing something, you have to put that within the context of time because we all live within time. We all have the same 24 hours. So the question is, if you're serious about it, it should be on your calendar. This is my thing. That means I'll see it, and that means I'm working. I'm working towards it, right? And so we're moving from resolution to actual goals, goal setting. You said a lot about breaking it down, smart goals, but now we've got to go into action, right? Now we've got to take action, and we've got to take small steps every day to make sure we achieve that goal.
I like it. One of the things I will say on the A in smart there, because this one I think is where we sometimes sell ourselves short on, is that when we think about what's achievable, we think about in the realm of what we know or what we observe, right, in our environment. So I know certain things we make the assumption, even when it comes to losing weight, right? Well, I can't lose it too fast, or I can't go too hard. I can't overwork myself, and so I would say we have to be willing to challenge those things that we assume and we think we know, and maybe going back to your point, go get the team, right, or go gather some new information, um, and really try to see whether or not you can sort of challenge what you think is achievable, because I think as we know at this stage of our lives, a lot of what we may not believe is achievable over the long term, right? And so if you take some steps along the way, you can get there. But I do think that we have to challenge some of that, right? We sometimes we live in environments that make us believe that certain things aren't possible for us, right? We may believe that, and I had many of these beliefs, so it's not unusual, right? You may believe that you need a lot of money to pursue an education, right? Or you need access to a lot of powerful people to make money or make a living, right? Or you may think that you need to win the lottery in order to have some financial stability and success, right? Or you need to be one of the big things I think, and I actually saw something in this today, was that this assumption that our lives have to be entirely together in order for us to achieve things, or even if we want to teach it to somebody, right? Like we want to be we believe that our lives have to be perfect before we can do certain things or pursue certain things, and as we know,
You know what that means, man?
that's not the case. Both Kofi and I don't have it all together, or we may seem that way
Speak for yourself. My
sometimes.
life is perfect.
You sure, buddy? Was that why you were scared of your trainer calling you there?
Yeah, you see, I just imagine that I'm in a perfect world and everything is good. All right, here
There,
we
there you go. Some meditation is helpful. A little delusion is okay too. But no, I think we ought to challenge what we think we know is possible and achievable, and make those resolutions. 'Cause like I said, sometimes those resolutions are dreams, right? You're like, man, I wish I could do this, or I want to be this, or I want to do that. I would say challenge the fact that you could either achieve those things you may think is unachievable, but also that you may be able to achieve them faster. So, but you can't. You've got to be willing to. Um, you've got to be willing to level up in your understanding, in your networks, in your conversations, in your actions, in order to achieve the resolutions. Right? I think there's a maybe it's Albert Einstein that said, insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So you got to do something different. Somebody told me that
go.
today.
You
They
should
said,
say that again. What is that? Insanity is what?
is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result,
Mm.
right? Somebody told me today that I should do something outside of my comfort zone. Um, And I didn't know what that meant because I felt like maybe I'm comfortable doing a lot of things, but they said just do something different. And I was like, I can do that. So I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna work hard to try to achieve my goals. My goals are
Are
continuing.
you
They're,
gonna
they're just
try?
rolling.
Are you
They're
back
just
to
rolling.
using the word try?
I apologize. I will continue to pursue
Okay,
my goals.
okay. I was just
You see,
wondering.
that's why I have accountability people in my life like you, Dr. Dalrymple.
For the Jedi, there is no try. There is only
That's
do.
right. You do or do not.
Do
I
or do not. There is no try.
I see Lisa's got some comments there. I don't know if you want to address those before we
I think
close.
she's got a very lovely thesis here. The benefit of a resolution. Let's see if it fits on the screen. There we go. The benefit of a resolution is that it raises awareness that we need to take some action. That's good. That's powerful there, Lisa. And that's why I was saying, to Lisa's point, I was saying, Rich, that getting to the point of making a decision and being resolute about it, sometimes for people, there is a little bit of denial, right? And they don't get there. We don't even get to the resolution. So that's why I was acknowledging earlier that sometimes it's a tough decision to accept, for example, that I have to do something about this, right? Or our mind is telling us, we need to live consistent with our values or whatever the case might be. It's sort of an acceptance that something needs to be done, and I think that in itself is a great first step. She says, however, I've seen people repeatedly repeat the same resolution year after year, and so in my opinion, it's just a decision without any action. A goal, however, requires a plan, strategic steps, vision, and an execution process. The great Dr. Richard taught me about setting smart goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time bound. Resolution, enough chat, she said. It's enough chat. Goal, a plan, implementation. That's from the wise Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. Good comment there. Listen,
Thank
listen
you,
to Lisa.
man.
She sounds like she knows what she's talking about.
It seems so. She seems to be
Listen
hanging
and
around
look
some good
out
people.
for Lisa Mohammed. You will see her around. She's
Yeah.
everywhere.
She seems to be hanging around good people. That's good. That's good. Well, no, man. So let's wrap this up, Rich. What's the big take home here, right? What's the big take home for you?
Let's make those resolutions into goals. Let's realize those resolutions this year. Let's dream big. Let's go out and get some people to help us, and even maybe help some people achieve their resolutions as well, and their goals. And teamwork makes the dream work. So let's
That's
do
right.
it. I
Teamwork.
think I
Mhm.
think the times that we live in, we're not lacking sources of more motivation. I know Ramona said motivation is hard, but I often find when I'm lacking motivation, I can go online and look at a YouTube video of some sort um, and be inspired to some degree. There's I don't know how many people know Susan Boyle, but Susan Boyle was a lady that auditioned in Britain's Got Talent, and she said she wanted to be as great as Elaine Page, and they laughed at her. But I think a couple years after, she was on a stage singing with Elaine Page, and of course, so yeah, motivation is out there. I think there's a lot of good stories. Um, I follow David Goggins. I read his book. I'm a big fan. He's a little intense. But yeah, if you feel like you need some motivation to get going, listen to David Goggins. If you don't like explicits, don't, because he's got a lot of those in there. But good guy, man. Lots of motivation out there. So let's go gather the information, sign the people up, and let's make it happen. 2023 is the year.
That's right, guys. Rich, thanks for sharing those. I also want to encourage everybody to push harder towards those goals, and again, convert those resolutions into a plan, something you can implement, something you can work on, and you know just watch, change your environment, make some good decisions every day, and we'll be back here in a year talking about how we've achieved those goals. So to everyone, all the best, prosperous new year. Wish we all achieve those goals and all the things that we set our hearts to do. So blessings for
All
next
right.
year.
Take care, everybody. Go get
Take care,
those
guys.
goals.
Thanks for watching.